In this video, we are going to focus on CAT Algebra Syllabus and some of the key features of the syllabus. Apart from the syllabus, we will also focus on some of the important concepts that you should learn to solve algebra questions correctly, and also what your study plan should be for CAT Algebra. So here we start with the most important point, that around 10 to 11 questions appear in CAT exam from CAT Algebra. That basically means that almost one third, so out of 34 questions, around 10 to 11 questions definitely will come in the exam from this topic or from this subject, I would say. It requires multiple concepts to solve questions. So let's look at the syllabus. Linear equations, quadratic equations, higher degree equation, and further we have integral solution, progression, maxima minima, functions and graphs, logarithms, inequalities. These are some of the important topics that come in CAT Algebra syllabus. In fact, these are the only topics that you can expect in the exam. Further, let's have a look at the concepts that are tested in the exam. So it says here that the basic formula on quadratic equation, progressions, maxima minima, and logarithms are very, very important. So you please take it down on a piece of paper that you should be good with quadratic equation, progressions, maxima minima, and logarithms. And you should also be very good at how to approach integral pairs of linear equation, in the sense that if you have 2 to 3 variables, then how are you going to how are you going to find the integral pairs of the solutions? And apart from that, AM, GM, HM concepts are very, very important. Arithmetic mean, geometric mean, and HM is harmonic mean. The concepts of these are very important for the application of maxima and minima, which plays a very, very important role in algebra syllabus. And basic understanding of functions and their graphical representations is very important, because functions and graph, very important. 2 to 3 questions definitely will come. Maxima minima, around 1 or 2 questions will come in the exam. Then integral pairs of values, again 1 or 2 questions might come in the exam. Further, we have what we call as working on multiple concepts and formulas, particularly in logarithm. So in logarithm based problems, you should have a fair idea of not only the core concepts of logarithms, but also the other concepts such as AP, GP, and all those things, Further, application of inequality concepts on modulus, function, linear, and quadratic equations is a very, very important. So inequality is also a very, very important part of CAT algebra. The way we had integral solutions through functions and maxima minima, similarly you will find that the application of inequality concepts on modulus and function and linear and quadratic equations are very important topics. Further, you should also be good at hit and trial approaches to identify values of variables. So sometimes the options are not given to you, or sometimes the options are given to you. In that case, you can use the options intelligently to arrive at the answer in a very short time. Now, what should be the study plan for beginners or strugglers in algebra? So lots of people who are from non-engineering background, they find algebra and words like progression, logarithms, and words like functions and maxima minima quite intimidating. For them, here is a very, very important study plan. It says here that you have to follow the certain order, and that is you have to start with linear equations. So linear equations you definitely must have done in your school days, wherein I think in 9th or 10th standard you must have solved equations with just one variable. So you have to start with the linear equations, then you have to go to quadratic equation, in the sense that the quadratic equations will have 2 variables, right? Or something like this, something different from linear equations. And further on, you will find that that you have to come to progression, come to the basics of arithmetic progression, geometric progression, and harmonic progression. So you have to start with linear equations, go to quadratic equation, and then come to progressions. After that, you have to focus on inequalities, which is the linear order inequalities. So if you look at chapter-wise distribution of these, then you have to study linear equations in all its varieties, quadratic equation in all the varieties. Then you have to go to the basics of progression, arithmetic progression, geometric progression, and harmonic progression. And then you have to go to inequalities. Further, you will have logarithms. So you have to focus on all the important formulas and concepts on how you can arrive at the answer by using these formulas and concepts. Further, you have to follow something. You have to focus on various formulas and logarithms, and then you have to learn to draw graph, because logarithms and graph go hand in hand, and sometimes functions and questions on logarithm might be interwoven. So you should have the idea of how to draw graphs with the help of a logarithmic scale or with the help of functions. Further, functions, again it has come, so after graph you come to functions, and then you come to maxima minima, and finally you have higher degree equations. So these are some of the important things, and it says further that you should solve ample problems to understand how to apply multiple concepts, because CAT is not going to test you only on just one concept. Sometimes the concept of logarithm will come along with the concept of maxima and minima. Sometimes the concept of functions will come together along with concept of maxima and minima and higher degree equation. So multiple things might be tested in just one question. So you have to keep that in mind. You have to follow this order, and that will definitely help you do better, at least in the algebra section.